Namaste, Dandavat Pranam.
Namaste.
By the instruction and grace of our spiritual master on Vishnupad Paramahamsa, Sripad Bhakti Madhava Puri Maharaj, we are here reading Srimad Bhagavatam. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. We're also paying our humble Dandavat Pranam to Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada for providing us this wonderful commentary and translation of Bhagavatam, and following the guidance of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur Prabhupada, we are praying to Śrīmatī Rādhārāṇī. Yadi sevā-vañcitāḥ yasyāḥ kṛpayā vayaṃ labhema sarvaṃ prāpnumaḥ prayojanaṃ dhāmni śrī-bhagavat pade Kṛṣṇa-sambandhi sarvaṃ Yadi jānīmahe tutam Aṣṭādaśasu sahasreṣu ślokānāṃ bhāgavat-oktiṣu Rādhārānīṃ vindāmaḥ tadā niṣphalaṃ yayinam radhikaya kripam vina vyartasyat sarva-pariśramaḥ. If we are cheated out of serving that personality whose mercy awards us everything we need, including residence in the Lord's holy Dham and all things connected to Krishna, and if we cannot understand or discover Rādhārānīṃ within the 18,000 verses of Srimad Bhagavatam, then our study of Srimad Bhagavatam has been pointless. Without the mercy of Śrīmatī Rādhārāṇī, all of our efforts are in vain. So we are continuing our reading today from Canto 6, Chapter 1, Text 16. Na tata hyagavan rajan puyeta tapa adibi yata Krishna-pita pranas tat purusha nishevaya. My dear king, if a sinful person engages in the service of a bona fide devotee of the Lord, and thus learns how to dedicate his life unto the lotus feet of Krishna, he can be completely purified. One cannot be purified merely by undergoing austerity, penance, brahmacharya, and other methods of atonement I have previously described. Purport. Tat Purusha refers to a preacher of Krishna consciousness, such as the spiritual master. Srila Narottam Das Thakur has said, Chadiya Vaishnava Seva Nishtar Payeche Keba. Without serving a bona fide spiritual master, an ideal Vaishnava who can be delivered from the clutches of Maya. This idea is also expressed in many other places. Srimad Bhagavatam 5.5.2 says, Mahat sevam dvaram ahor vimukte. If one desires liberation from the clutches of Maya, one must associate with a pure devotee, Mahatma. A Mahatma is one who engages 24 hours daily in the loving service of the Lord. As Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita 9.13, Mahatmanastu mam partha daivim prakritim ashrita bhajantyānaya manaso gyatva bhutadim avyayam. O son of Pritha, those who are not deluded, the great souls, are under the protection of the divine nature. They are fully engaged in devotional service because they know me as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, original and inexhaustible. Thus, the symptom of a Mahatma is that he has no engagement other than service to Krishna. One must render service to a Vaishnava in order to get freed from sinful reactions, revive one's original Krishna consciousness, and be trained in how to love Krishna. This is the result of Mahatma Seva. Of course, if one engages in the service of a pure devotee, the reactions of one's sinful life are vanquished automatically. Devotional service is necessary not to drive away an insignificant stock of sins, but to awaken our dormant love for Krishna. As fog is vanquished at the first glimpse of sunlight, one's sinful reactions are automatically vanquished as soon as one begins serving a pure devotee. No separate endeavor is required. The word Kṛṣṇa prana refers to a devotee who dedicates his life to serving Krishna, not to being saved from the path to hellish life. A devotee is Narayana Parayana, or Vasudev Parayana, which means that the path of Vasudev, or the devotional path, is his sinful. The devotional path is his life and soul. The devotional path is his life and soul. Narayana Para Sarve na Kutaschana Bibhyate. Bhagavatam 6.1.16.28. Such a devotee is not afraid of going anywhere. There is a path toward liberation in the higher planetary systems and a path toward the hellish planets. But a Narayana Para devotee is unafraid wherever he is sent. He simply wants to remember Krishna, wherever he may be. Such a devotee is unconcerned with hell and heaven. He is simply attached to rendering service to Krishna. When a devotee is put into hellish conditions, he accepts them as Krishna's mercy. Tate nukampam susamikshamaḥ. Bhagavatam 10.14.8. He does not protest. Oh, I am such a great devotee of Krishna. Why have I been put into this misery? Instead, he thinks, this is Krishna's mercy. Such an attitude is possible for a devotee who engages in the service of Krishna's representative. This is the secret of success. Text 17. Sadrichino yayam loke pantakshemo kutobaya sushila sadhavo yatra narayana parayana. The path followed by pure devotees who are well behaved and fully endowed with the best qualifications is certainly the most auspicious path in this material world. It is free from fear, and it is authorized by the Shastras. Purport. One should not think that the person who takes to bhakti is one who cannot perform the ritualistic ceremonies recommended in the Karmakand section of the Vedas, or is not sufficiently educated to speculate on spiritual subjects. Mayavadis generally allege that the bhakti path is for women and illiterates. This is a groundless accusation. The bhakti path is followed by the most learned scholars such as the Goswamis, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and Ramanujacharya. These are the actual followers of the bhakti path. Regardless of whether or not one is educated or aristocratic, one must follow in their footsteps. Mahajanoyena gata sapanta. One must follow the path of the Mahajans. The Mahajans are those who have taken to the path of devotional service. Sushila sadhavo yatra narayana parayana. For those great personalities are the perfect persons. As stated in Srimad Bhagavatam 5.18.12, yasyasti bhaktir bhagavatya kinchana sarvar gunaistatra samashate sura. One who has unflinching devotion to the personality of Godhead has all the good qualities of the demigods. The less intelligent, however, misunderstand the bhakti path and therefore allege that it is for one who cannot execute ritualistic ceremonies or speculate. As confirmed here by the word sadrichina, bhakti is the path that is most appropriate, not the paths of karmakand and jnanakand. Mayavadis may be sushila sadhava, well-behaved saintly persons, but there is nevertheless some doubt about whether they are actually making progress, for they have not accepted the path of bhakti. On the other hand, those who follow the path of the acharyas are sushila and sadhava. But furthermore, their path is akutobai, which means free from fear. One should fearlessly follow the 12 Mahajans and their line of disciplic succession, and thus be liberated from the clutches of Maya. Text 18. Prayaśṭitāni chirnāni narayana paramukam na niṣphunanti rajendra surakumbam ivapaga. My dear king, as a pot containing liquor cannot be purified even if washed in the waters of many rivers, non-devotees cannot be purified by processes of atonement even if they perform them very well. Purport. To take advantage of the methods of atonement, one must be at least somewhat devoted. Otherwise, there is no chance of one's being purified. It is clear from this verse that even those who take advantage of karmakand and jnanakand, but are not at least slightly devoted, cannot be purified simply by following these other paths. The word prayaśṭitāni is plural in number to indicate both karmakand and jnanakand. Narottam Das Thakur therefore says, Karmakand Jnanakand Kevala Vishera Bhanda. Thus, Narottam Das Thakur compares the paths of Karmakand and Jnanakand to pots of poison. Liquor and poison are in the same category. According to this verse from Srimad Bhagavatam, a person who has heard a good deal about the path of devotional service, but who is not attached to it, who is not Krishna conscious, is like a pot of liquor. Such a person cannot be purified without at least a slight touch of devotional service. Text 19. Sakrinmana Krishna padara vindayor niveshitam tadguna ragiyar iha nateyamam pasya britascha swapnepi pasyantihi chirna nishkrita. Although not having fully realized Krishna, persons who have even once surrendered completely unto his lotus feet, and who have become attracted to his name, form, qualities, and pastimes, are completely freed of all sinful reactions, for they have thus accepted the true method of atonement. Even in dreams, such surrendered souls do not see Yamaraj or his order carriers, who are equipped with ropes to bind the sinful. Purport. Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita 18.66, Sarva-dharmam parityaga mamekam sharanam vraja aham tvam sarva-papebhyo mokshasyami masucha. Abandon all varieties of religion and just surrender unto me. I shall deliver you from all sinful reactions. Do not fear. This same principle is described here. Sakrin mana Krishna padara vindayo. If by studying Bhagavad Gita one decides to surrender to Krishna, he is immediately freed from all sinful reactions. It is also significant that Sukadeva Goswami, having several times repeated the words Vasudeva Parayana and Narayana Parayana, finally says Krishna Padara Vindayo. Thus he indicates that Krishna is the origin of both Narayan and Vasudeva. Even though Narayan and Vasudeva are not different from Krishna, simply by surrendering to Krishna one fully surrenders to all his expansions, such as Narayan and Vasudeva and Govinda. As Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita 7.7, Mata parataram nanyat, there is no truth superior to me. There are many names and forms of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, but Krishna is the supreme form. Kṛṣṇa-sambandhi Bhagavan vayaṃ. Therefore, Krishna recommends to neophyte devotees that one should surrender unto him only, mam mekam. Because neophyte devotees cannot understand what the forms of Narayan, Vasudeva, and Govinda are, Krishna directly says Mam Ekam. Herein, this is also supported by the words Krishna Padhara Vindayo. Narayan does not speak personally, but Krishna or Vasudeva does, as in Bhagavad Gita, for example. Therefore, to follow the direction of Bhagavad Gita means to surrender unto Krishna, and to surrender in this way is the highest perfection of Bhakti Yoga. Parikshit Maharaj had inquired from Sukadeva Goswami how one can be saved from falling into the various conditions of hellish life. In this verse, Sukadeva Goswami answers that a soul who has surrendered to Krishna certainly cannot go to Naraka, hellish existence. To say nothing of going there, even in his dreams, he does not see Yamaraj or his order carriers, who are able to take one there. In other words, if one wants to save himself from falling into Naraka or hellish life, he should fully surrender to Krishna. The word Sakrit is significant because it indicates that if one sincerely surrenders to Krishna once, he is saved, even if by chance he falls down committing sinful activities. Therefore, Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita 9.30, Apichet Sudaracharo Bhajate Mam Ananyabhak Sadur Eva Samantavaya Samyag Vyabhashito Hisa. Even if one commits the most abominable actions, if he is engaged in devotional service, he is to be considered saintly because he is properly situated. If one never for a moment forgets Krishna, he is safe even if by chance he falls down by committing sinful activities. In the second chapter of Bhagavad Gita 2.40, the Lord also says, Neha bi Kṛṣṇa-sambandhi pratyāy vayo na vidyate svāpam apyasya dharmasya trayate mahato bhayat. In this endeavor, there is no loss or diminution, and a little advancement on this path can protect one from the most dangerous type of fear. Elsewhere in Gita 6.40, the Lord says, Nahi kalyana krit kaschid durgatim tata gacchati. One who performs auspicious activity is never overcome by evil. The highest kalyana, auspicious activity, is to surrender to Krishna. That is the only path by which to save oneself from falling down into hellish life. Srila Prabodhananda Saraswati has confirmed this as follows. Kaivalyam narakayate tridasa pur akasha pushpayate. Durdan tendriya kalasarpa patali protkata damstrayate. Vishvam purna sukhayate vidhi mahendradis chakitayate. Yat karunya kataksha vaibhava vatam tam goram evastumaha. The sinful actions of one who has surrendered unto Krishna are compared to a snake with its poison fangs removed. Protkata damstrayate. Such a snake is no longer to be feared. Of course, one should not commit sinful activities on the strength of having surrendered to Krishna. However, even if one who has surrendered to Krishna happens to do something sinful because of his former habits, such sinful actions no longer have a destructive effect. Therefore, one should adhere to the lotus feet of Krishna very tightly and serve him under the direction of the spiritual master. Thus, in all conditions, one will be akuto bhaya, free from fear. So, we will continue from text 20 in our next reading on Wednesday. Okay.
So, of course, I have a question. So, when we talk about as long as one is following Krishna and has surrendered to Krishna, even if he falls back into his bad habits, he's still saved. As long as he doesn't, I mean, I'm asking, as long as he doesn't fall into a category where we described all the different kinds of hell in the last segment.
Yeah, so this is supposed to be very encouraging, right? Because as a practitioner of these things myself, um, it's it's difficult to overcome our material conditioning once and for all. We make progress, and little by little we're making progress, but nonetheless we still fall back to old habits and things like that. So this is telling us that by falling back on old habits, it won't take away from the progress that we've already made.
Mm-hmm.
So that isn't to say that we are going to continue to make progress by falling back to those activities. We won't be able to make progress in that way, but we won't lose the progress that we've already made.
Okay.
So for anyone who is sincere about continuing to make progress and continuing to try to purify ourselves from our materialistic conditioning, then no matter how often they fall back to old habits, they'll still decide, okay, this is a new moment, a new day. Whatever I did yesterday, it is what it is. But I'm going to try my best today, because my ultimate goal is to make progress towards cultivating that universal love, that love of God.
Mm-hmm.
So we won't fall back. Whatever progress we have made is very, very encouraging, that we won't lose that. But if we expect to continue to make progress, then we have to still try our best to overcome that conditioning through the processes of bhakti, right? Through hearing from the sadhu, through chanting, through associating with the devotees, are all of our processes. So,
Nice. Thank you.
thank you. Jayam Vishnupad Paramahamsa Shripad Bhakti Madhava Puri Maharaj Ki Jai.
Jai.
Jai Srila Prabhupada, Srila Gurudev, Srila Guru Maharaj, Srila Gurudev, Srila Acharya Dev, Srila Tirtha Maharaj Ki Jai. Shri Rupa Nuga Guru Varga Ki Jai. All glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to the worldwide devotees, Sama Bhaktiveda Vrinda Ki Jai. Jai Navadvip Dham Ki Jai, Mayapur Dham Ki Jai, Jagannath Puri Dham Ki Jai, Jagannath Baladev Subhadra Ju Ki Jai. Ganga Mai Yamuna Mai Ki Jai, Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai, Giri Govardhan Gupta Govardhan Dham Ki Jai, Sham Kund Radha Kund Ki Jai, Tulsi Devi Bhakti Devi Vrinda Devi Ki Jai. Jai Harinam Sankirtan Yagya Ki Jai. Scientific Sankirtan Yagya Ki Jai. Princeton Bhakti Vedanta Institute Ki Jai. Sri Chaitanya Saraswati Mat Ki Jai. Nitai Gaur Premanandi Hari 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 Bol.
Hari Bol.
Shrimati Uma Devi Dasi Ki Jai. Jai Shrimati Maharani Devi Dasi Ki Jai. Hare Krishna.
Jai Krishna Keshava Das Brahmachari Ki Jai.
Jai
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna.
Dandavati.